Hello friends, acquaintances, people I've met, people I'll probably never meet, and people I've just talked to. Today on my video blog I'd like to talk to you about just that. Friends. Specifically internet friends. Should we consider them real friends or just those internet people? So I thought it would be nice this time around to sit by the roaring imitation fire and chat a little bit about internet friendship. What does it mean? What does it mean to you? What does it mean to me? I'd like to find out. A number of months ago, my good internet friend PreacherMan777 put up a video about internet friends. And in his video he talked about the fact that he's met a lot of interesting people over the internet, whether it be through YouTube or Stickam or anywhere else, that he now considers good real-life friends. And that got me to thinking, like, what nowadays is the difference between online friends and real-life friends? Because for a lot of us, our online life is a significant part of our real life. Now, I've met a lot of interesting people over my years on the net. I've been on the internet since about 1995, 94, thereabouts. And in those 12 plus years, I've met a lot of interesting people, some of which I wish I'd never met because they were just freaks or needlessly vindictive or just plain socially incapable of interacting with other humans on any kind of normal level. But I've also made a lot of friends on the internet, people who I consider to be genuine friends, who, if we lived in the same city, I would definitely hang out with and go for beers with, or watch movies with, or what have you. But it's interesting, I actually opened up this discussion in my Stickam chat room a few months back. I guess it was around the same time as Preacher Man's video. And some of the things that were said I thought were quite true. Now, you go back in the day to the early days of internet chatting and messaging and whatnot, and it was all text-based. And it was quite interesting to see, just sort of from a social commentary point of view, how emotional people would get just from interacting with essentially text on a screen. But nowadays, things are quite a bit different. We have places like YouTube and places like Stickam, where you can actually see and hear the person and interact with them, sometimes in a real-time manner, much as you would somebody that you're hanging out with. In short, this whole video revolution that we're all enjoying right now seems to have broken down the barrier between real life and internet life. The two, it's not such a clear division anymore. Because, I mean, think about it. You're chatting with someone on a webcam chat, and you chat with them fairly regularly, you get to know them fairly well, and you come to consider them a friend. You confide things in them, and you share ideas and philosophies and whatever, and just plain hang out and have fun online. Now, how is that any different from interacting with someone in the real world? I mean, okay, you might argue that in the real world you can actually physically touch the person. Okay. How many of your friends do you generally physically touch when you're hanging out with them? Like, you have your buddy over to watch a hockey game. Are you putting your hands all over him? Well, maybe some of you are, but I think the majority of us would say, no, not really. We just sort of hang out and have a good time. Well, how is hanging out with somebody on the internet any different from that? Really? The way I look at it is like this. It's very simple, and those of you who have been to my Stickam chat room will have heard this before, but to my video viewers it may be new. I consider chatting with somebody online and hanging out with friends online to be exactly the same as hanging out with them here at my place. The only difference being I don't have to clean up after them. And if I have booze, I don't have to share it with them. You know, it's hanging out with friends without them having to worry about them raiding your fridge when you're short on cash and can barely afford to feed yourself, let alone yourself and your guests. I didn't mean for that to sound quite so selfish, but you know what I mean. It's basically you don't have to deal with all those other things that you would generally have to deal with being a good host. And here's the other thing. Interacting with people over the internet, because you don't have that sort of physical presence, as it were, and some would argue the somewhat anonymity of it, I find that people interacting over the internet tend to confide a lot more and reveal a lot more about themselves to the people they're chatting with than they would say to, you know, a friend or relative out there in the real world. I guess the reason being that it's almost like having an impartial confidant in some ways. I don't know. There's a lot of sort of different psychological things you could tie to that, but it's like you can tell these people anything, and they essentially won't be able to hold it over you because they don't know all the people that you know in real life. But then that gets down to breaking down the barriers. Whereas back in the day we had a text chat. Nowadays we have web and audio, like webcam and audio chat, which makes it a lot more personal. It makes it a lot harder to sort of hide who you are. I mean, if you go into webcam chat and just throw up a bunch of still pictures and process your voice to sound different, people are going to know you're fake, and they're not going to take anything you say seriously. But if you just fire up the webcam and start chatting with people and interacting with people, it becomes very apparent very quickly what kind of a person you are and how genuine you are. Unless you're a really, really good actor, and unless you've got some Academy Awards sitting on your shelf, chances are you're not that good an actor. So you're just going to be yourself. You're going to interact with people, you're going to chat with people, you're going to hang out with them online. But I guess the point is, one thing I've seen is that even in this day and age of having every single aspect of social interaction available on the internet minus the actual physical contact, people still seem to differentiate between them. Like I have met people online that at the time I considered to be good friends, and then for one reason or another they decided one day to just blow me off and have nothing more to do with me, leaving me to wonder why, and at the same time feeling, I'll be quite honest, feeling just a little bit hurt by that. I just don't understand. I don't understand why people still do that when there isn't such a big difference anymore, at least from my viewpoint. Like, I have a lot of online friends, and I have a lot of real-life friends as well. But I consider my online friends to be just as genuine, real, and important to me, and deserving of respect as my real-life friends. And I would never do something like that to them. I would never just blow them off after I've been spending months and months getting to know them and interacting with them and hanging out with them online. That's just plain rude. That's inconsiderate and needlessly hurtful to the other person. So even if I drop out of touch for a while, all my online friends know that they can email me anytime, that they can send me messages or whatever, and I will happily say hey and acknowledge their existence. And yeah, the phone's ringing. I'll be back. Sorry about that. That was the placement agency calling with some opportunities for myself and Annetta. Anyway, I guess to sort of sum up, when you're interacting with people online, just take care to remember that it's actually a living, breathing human being with feelings on the other end. Have I been hurt? Oh yeah, hell yeah, many times by people not treating me like a person, or by treating me like a person in the beginning and then just blowing me off like a piece of dirt. And it's not a good feeling, and I wouldn't wish that on anybody, which is why I try to be as respectful as I can to people that I interact with. And yeah, it's tough. So anyway, be nice to each other. And even if you don't feel that internet relationships are real, just take care to remember that it's another person on the other end there. And if if you tag them along and then blow them off, it could hurt their feelings, and that's not very nice. So be nice to people. Be nice to each other. Anyway, thanks for listening to my ramblings of the day, ramblings au jour. I'd be really interested to hear what all your takes are on it, preferably in the form of video responses, because I'd really like to get the whole video interaction thing going on here. And I know a lot of you who watch my videos also make videos, so let's see some video responses. I'd be really curious to hear your take on the whole internet friends. Are they real friends, or are they just internet friends? And if so, why? Alright. Anyway, that's it from me for now. So, thanks for watching. Until next time, sayonara.